Hello world, this is a tutorial for Windows Phone Sauce and this is Shantanu Pandey. Now last time you made an Hello World application. Now what we'll be doing here is modifying it, that is the previous application, to make something new. We'll be introducing data binding, we'll be introducing a little bit about event handling. So first the data binding. As you saw last time, we had this button over here. When we double clicked on it, we had changed the code from the null to text block1.text is equal to hello world. Now this meant a clear message that as soon as I click this button, the text should change. Now what if we don't want it to be a constant entity? That is, every time we click this button, we'll always get hello world. What if we want it to be something different? To take the user input, I have two ways. Either I can go and change the XAML code over here, or I can go to Toolbox and just double click on the text box. So when I have a text box, you will see that over here in the XAML there is a new entity called text box over here in the down. Well, I could have directly written text box over here and it would change over here. So this is XAML code and this is the visual appearance of XAML code. Now what we'll do is we'll change the code a little bit. For example, when we click over on the button, instead of text block1.text is equal to hello world, we'll go with text block1.text is equal to text box1.text. What you saw on the down, that those drop down menus, they were Visual Studio's power of IntelliSense. That is, it automatically predicts what you want to type. It matches the correct data type, and that's how it works. So we have changed the code that as soon as I click on this button, whatever is the text over here should become the text over here. So I'll go to debug and I'll start debugging. Okay. So I'll click over here. I'll have this keyboard over here, which I'll say sauce is cool. Also notice that yes, this text box is not a very appealing name, right? So see if I can delete it. I'll match only word. Okay, so yes, only the sauce is cool. Yeah, right. So I'll come over here and the sauce is cool, right? So I'll click on this button and yes, it's proven, sauce is cool. This was our first application where we saw how the data binding takes place. The data from the text box is transferred to the data in text block. Now we'll go and see the properties more closer. So we'll go to debug and I'll stop debugging. And yes, this is also another second application you have made. So once we select something, on the right hand side you'll see that there's this bar called properties. If you can't see it, select the entity, go to view, and on this down part you'll find property window. Click on it. That is if you don't have properties already appear on the screen. So on the left hand side you'll have the data type of the thing you have selected. On the right hand side the variable name you have selected. So right now I've selected button. So you would see that we have properties and we have events. So I'll show you a little bit of events. We had an event called click. Now we know that event is something that happens, and whatever you're seeing over here are the various events that are possible with this button. For example, click, it's key up, key down, or whatever. And on the right hand side the name is button1_click. This is the event handler to this event. So whenever this event happens, button1.click or button1_click is the thing that runs. Similarly, let's say this time I don't want the button at all to function in my code. So I'll go to the XML part and I'll delete this button. So I'll select it all and backspace. Done. So as you would notice that I have changed the Java code and the button disappears. So the question is how to change this text block if you don't have a button, right? The answer is what we had demonstrated just now, the events. So I'll select the text box, and all the properties, make sure you have selected events, and you would find an event called text change. In this text change, we'll enter, let's say, sauce changed. And when I press enter, you'll notice that a new function called private void source change has been created with an object center and text change event arguments e. So this is an event handler of the event if text changes in the text box. So I'll write text block 1 dot text equals to text box 1 dot text. At the same time, I also don't need this function, so I'll just delete it. I'll come back to the main page.xaml. I'll go to debug and start debugging in my Windows Phone part. Okay, so I have this thing over here. Now I'll say, look, first of all, as soon as I started deleting the text box over here, the text change over here too. So I'll say sauce comma you work. So as we change the text over here, you notice that text change also over here. So this is a very good example of how data binding takes place. At the same time, how events takes place. So I would suggest you go around, check the events, for example, all the events in the button, all the events in the text block. You can play around with the code a lot. So if you know C and C++, you're welcome. If you don't know it, have the patience, we'll show you a lot more. Thanks for watching this video. This is Shantanu Pandey and Karthik Raghupathi, and we'll be guiding you to a lot more. Stay tuned. Thank you.